the speech labeled people, and he labeled half the American populace. And he did it, and this is what's so, to me, discouraging about what he did, under this guise of American power with this, red background, and then two Marines in their dress uniforms, like Logan said, as if this was, China. But here you have it, on a speech that was nothing but political. So Colonel Wes Smith is with us right now. And Wes, we spoke this morning before we went on air. You said you found that personally very offensive.
Absolutely. And I cannot overstate that, Jay, that as a career military officer, I was personally offended by that backdrop. Under military regulation, troops, we're forbidden from showing up at any partisan event or any political event in uniform. Of course, as the commander-in-chief, he can order troops to show up wherever he wants them to. But he looked for all the world like a fascist strongman. And I sat there watching it. And again, I was truly offended. I felt sorry for those young Marines that were used that way.
Yeah.
Having never worn the uniform, I don't think he understands the military ethos and how insulting that was for the military.
It was insulting to the military, and it was ominous to the American people. This is the president that's got an FBI out of control, an IRS where they're putting 87,000 more agents, and they're making sure that the special agents can, shoot to kill. I mean, this is for tax cases. And you think to yourself, how did we end up here? But this was a calculated move, by no accident here. Here's what you're not. He's not going to call you a semi-fascist anymore because the blowback on that was too great. Ultra MAGA people were wearing that as a slogan of honor. So now you're an extreme MAGA Republican that's taking away women's rights to choose. That's how he's labeling it.
If I could say one other thing,
Sure.
Jay, that was lazy labeling. It was philosophically and politically very unsophisticated. Most conservative Americans support the idea of American greatness and of the principles of making America great again, even if they don't support Donald Trump. He took all 70 million plus of us and lumped us in one group together. And like I said, it's lazy labeling and stereotyping.
75 million people, you're right, Wes. 75 million people voted for the former president of the United States. So whether you like the policies or not, or whether you voted or whichever way you voted, that's a lot of people to label like this, Logan.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a very large amount of people to label as essentially your enemy and not just your political, someone you disagree with. And he tried to do his best, I'd say, to caveat that. But the problem was,
They get their own rhetoric, too.
Well, he'd caveat it and say, I don't mean mainstream Republicans. And when he says mainstream Republicans, it seems like he means Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney. Because I don't really see any others that are out there that are these, non-pro-life. I mean, how many? There probably maybe a handful of non-pro-life Republicans that are in the House and the Senate. I mean, legitimately.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty mainstream point of view. I mean, maybe those that are coming out of some areas of the country, but the majority are this. And that's the difference. You're labeling not just an extremist group. You're not going after them. Even if you just said Trump supporters, which, by the way, obviously I disagree with, but when you started throwing in there these sort of, again, mainline conservative points of view, views that you held until pretty recently also, Joe Biden, as enemy, I can't take it. And I don't think many people can. And you have to be careful, though, over the next couple of years.
I want to play some rhetoric. This is rhetoric. This is aimed at the Supreme Court of the United States by a sitting senator who's now the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer. Take a listen to this.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
So he's trying to intimidate Supreme Court justices on cases they heard. You will not know what hit you. You know what hit them besides protests at their house? One guy tried to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. So they talk about violence and all this like it's, I condemn violence on any side.
Yeah, you know what also didn't do? Change the minds of the Supreme Court justices.
No, it sure did.
Who actually probably backfired on you, if we're being honest.
I think so.
So those, I think they were strong conservatives. I don't think they were going to be not doing it that way. But you want to push a Supreme Court justice? We'll see what happens. I mean, that's really when that's what happens. You had Roe overturned, something that I was shocked to see in our lifetime.
We're going to tell you, do not take the bait. Nobody should be taking the bait.
Don't take the bait, but listen closely. I think you need to listen closely to the way people are talking. Look, let's play bite 4 from Joe Biden. We'll hear what he had to say. And this is supposed to be a non-political address to the nation.
But as I stand here tonight, equality and democracy are under assault. We do ourselves no favor to pretend otherwise. So tonight, I've come to this place where it all began, to speak as plainly as I can to the nation about the threats we face, about the power we have in our own hands to meet these threats, and about the incredible future that lies in front of us if only we choose it.
This is coming from a guy, Wes, that has weaponized the IRS, the bias within the Department of Justice. We spent a week talking about that this week. I'm not going to go over that again. In the FBI, and there's all these agents leaving again. As soon as there's an investigation, the agents are escorted out because of bias. And he's threatening the American people with this, or at least half the American people.
Yeah, he gave what can only be fairly called an extremist speech in order to counter what he seems as extremism. I thought it was telling. I observed people and body language. He was very angry. Not once did our president smile at anything, even when he was pretending to be talking about hope. And what I came away from listening to this entire thing, and it was painful, and again, it was embarrassing, but rather than invoke our better angels, President Biden invoked our societal demons last night. He purposely pushed Americans into their political corners.
So I'm wondering, and this is a kind of a Jordan question. We'll talk to him when he gets back. He's been out of town on a case. Let's all talk about this. What are the political consequences of this? Did it galvanize his left flank, or did it galvanize the Republicans and saying, I don't like my pro-life Republicans being called, ultra MAGA or hero MAGA extremists?
I think, let's see how the next few weeks plays out. I think also what I said before is I hope that enough conservatives actually tuned in to see this and to see what people are saying about you. Not only what people are saying about you, what the president of the United States, whether you like me calling him that or not, says about you. And what did he not bring up? This is a great list that our team put together. Didn't mention China. Didn't mention crime. 0 mentions of inflation. 0 mentions of fentanyl or the border. A few references to Donald Trump, extremism, violence. MAGA got 13. Republicans got 16. So that's what this was. This was not as Karen Jean-Pierre said, this was not a non-political speech. I mean, she said that yesterday, right before the speech. I had a feeling she had a early copy of that speech to review, and we all did too, because we saw the semi-fascist terms being thrown around. That backfired so extreme they had to come up with something else. They came up with MAGA extremists again, which was said 13, 15 times, something like that. You said don't take the bait, and I agree, don't take the bait. Well, what I can do is say you still need to get activated in what is going on.
100%.
Because the midterms are coming up. And look, if this was 6 weeks ago, a lot of conservatives were, sitting back, relaxing, saying, we got this. But the times are changing. And what you hope is that a lot of people saw this and say, this is not the president. This is not the way I want this to go. This is not the America I live in. And I mean that even for Democrats. I hope a lot of Democrats watched and said, this was disgusting and disturbing. Even if I agree with him, this is not the way we treat other Americans. In front of, Independence Hall, Philadelphia. It's absolutely absurd.